Hello, guys. Good morning. Happy Coffee Talk. So I'm super excited to share with you that Coffee Talk has our first ever sponsor. I talked about it in detail last week on an episode where I told you why these products make such a difference for me, and I'm very pumped to share them with you. And so, yes, Cured Nutrition. I use their gummies every single night to go to sleep to help moderate my knee pain. So I have chronic knee pain from 10 surgeries that I had in the Navy, and this takes the edge off so that I can sleep without having to use things like naproxen or ibuprofen that affect your gut and kind of hurt you over time. I don't have to use that because I can simply use these CBD gummies and they help me fall asleep. And then I also have been using their like Rise products to cut back a little bit on my caffeine, but just to make my focus and my clarity more clear in the morning. And I love them. So I strongly suggest checking them out. Again, I use this stuff every single day and I'm very pumped to share it with you. If you want to hear the whole backstory, then check out that episode. But coffee this morning is paired with Cured Nutrition Rise. So I just took a couple of those capsules and now I am drinking some of the Cafe Soleil coffee in my like tree mug that kind of looks like you're in the Northern Lights, which is on my bucket list, by the way. I want to go see the Northern Lights one day, and that's what this mug looks like. So I, full transparency, sat here and stared at my microphone for the past 30 minutes. I mean, I did get stuff done because my computer's right in front of me, but for some reason, I just could not push record. I think it's because my brain's a little bit tired. I traveled this weekend. I just got back. I'm putting stuff away. I'm getting organized. I'm about ready to hike to the gym. That's what I'm calling it because I put George on my back and I kind of use that as a training session because I get the exercise of going there and then I have to do the workout and then I get to come back with her on my back. And so it's like this full situation, but I'm preparing for my Mount St. Helens adventure that's coming up this weekend. And so I just need to get as much walking and carrying reps as possible and some challenging physical stuff. So that's what's ahead. But I had a hard time pushing record this morning, honestly. And I know that sometimes you probably feel like that too. Maybe it's not push record. Maybe it's walk out the door to the gym. Maybe it's like go ahead and make that breakfast, drink the water. It's like, you should. It's sitting there right in front of you. My microphone was sitting right in front of my face and I still had trouble pushing record. So I gave myself a minute. I didn't like overthink it, but I knew I was going to not let myself off the hook. And so I essentially gave myself a deadline and I said, by 8:15, you must push record. And so I pushed 8 on the dot, 8:15. I really like using time intervals to help with things. And so in exercise, so this is one of the things I learned as a coach and trainer, and I think this will be a cool thing for you to think about for today's Coffee Talk episode because it applies to so many things. One of the more challenging ways to exercise, if I said to you, hey, I need you to do 100 sit-ups and I want you to do them as fast as possible. So if sit-ups are hard for you, or if you've never done sit-ups before, it's going to be really hard, but it might take you, if you're not in very good shape, kind of a long time, right? And then you might feel demoralized. You might have to quit. You might not actually be able to finish 100 sit-ups. And if I was your trainer, I would probably only give you that workout prescription if I knew you could do it. If I was pretty confident that you could do 100 sit-ups, it just might be challenging, well, then I might give you that. But if I'm actually not sure, or if I just know that you're in a headspace where that's not going to be helpful for you today, there is a different version of sit-ups that is time-bound, which is actually mentally easier. And so what I would say to you is, I want you to do as many sit-ups as possible in 1 minute. And so I'm going to start the clock and you just keep going. So maybe you're feeling really awesome that day and you get 60 sit-ups. I don't know if that's doable or not. I have no idea. Or maybe you just do the absolute best you can and you get 15, but the minute's over. And so then we take a rest and then I say, okay, we're going to do it again. Let's go for another minute. I want you to get as many as you can get done inside of that minute and then we'll take another rest. And so maybe we do that 3 times and you get 3 separate minutes where you're doing the best that you can. And then whatever you get that day is what you get. That's what you get. It might be 100, it might be 150, it might be 32, right? But mentally, this is potentially a much more approachable way for someone to do sit-ups. And again, like there's good reason to do 100 for time. Like, let me see how fast you can do 100. But again, you have to be pretty sure you're going to do 100. You have to be pretty confident that you can do 100. Otherwise, seeing how fast you can do it for time makes no sense. On the other hand, when you take the time first and you're like, I'm not sure what I'm capable of today, that's how you know that this is a good strategy for you. I'm not sure if I can do it. Then we're going to go time bound first. And we're going to say, I'm not committing to cleaning my whole kitchen. That seems too hard. I don't know if I can do that today. I am committed to cleaning my kitchen for 10 minutes. I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to get done whatever I can get done. And if it's the whole kitchen, great. If it's just the dishes, great. If it's just putting away the stuff on the counters, great. Whatever I do inside of the 10 minutes, that's what I can do today. And again, maybe you give yourself a rest and you go again. But you see, like, mentally, that is a completely different situation. And it's all based on the idea of, like, I'm not sure I can do it. And so giving yourself this time concept can be really helpful in workouts too, like not just like a specific exercise, but say you don't feel like exercising at all and you're like, I don't know if I have it in me today. Then I really love the 10-minute rule. The 10-minute rule is that you get your butt out to do whatever it is you're supposed to do for 10 minutes. You set the clock, you start your warm up, you get going, and you do your 10 minutes. And that is the minimum. And as long as you did that, you succeeded today. And if you finish the 10 minutes and you want to go for another 10 minutes, awesome. Then you can just reset your clock and go again. And if you feel like after that, you can go for another 10 minutes, awesome. Finish your whole workout. Perfect. But if you didn't, at least you got that 10 minutes in. And most of the time, once we do 10 minutes, then we're probably okay and we just keep going. But it's really a great strategy because mentally it's easier. It's totally easier to do it this way. And I apply this in so many places in my life, whether it's in my schedule and routine, whether I need to write something, whether it is, again, cleaning up my house, whether it's reading a book, whether it's going for a walk or doing a workout or whatever. When I just don't have it in me, the option isn't to not do it. The option is to do a different strategy. And again, like, I think this is where we screw up is like, well, I don't feel like working out. Okay, well, the answer is I'm not going to work out. The answer is like, well, I need to like adjust the plan here a little bit. Like, what do I need to do to get my butt there, you know? And so when we start to approach it that way, then we're problem solving inside of the thing that we committed ourselves to do, right? So if we're like, I need to get this stuff done, I already decided that this is like a part of what I need to get done, then that's not a negotiable anymore. You've already decided it's a priority. You already decided it's important. You've got to do the writing. You've got to do the reading. You've got to do the workout. You've got to do the walking. You've got to clean your kitchen. You've got to do the meal prep. You've already decided when your mind was clear that it was a priority, right? You made that decision. So now we're not negotiating on whether or not you get to do it, but we do get to try to use different strategies to make it feel more doable, and this is one of them. Time bound over task bound is what's called. So task specific is like, I'm going to clean my house. It might take me 3 days. Time bound is I'm going to work for an hour, and whatever I get done inside that hour is what I get done. But remember, the time isn't just doing whatever you want. I think that this only works when you're very specifically focused. So you're like, inside of this hour, I'm going to only do this thing. And I'm going to get as much as I can get done inside of this hour. Another reason why I like this is because if this strategy works for you, it doesn't have to be something that goes away when you feel good. In fact, sometimes we can push ourselves extra hard when we use this. And so not only does it work really well for giving yourself sort of like a mental freebie because mentally it's easier, but on days that you feel really good, you actually can challenge yourself to do way more than you would have done if it was task specific. So imagine again, let's just say the sit-up example, that I would have said, hey, Sarah, I need you to do 100 sit-ups for time. So you do your 100 sit-ups and it takes you, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, let's say. And then instead, we've been playing the minute game. And I say, hey, Sarah, you have 4 minutes to do as many sit-ups as possible. Take as much rest as you need, but do as many sit-ups as you can get done inside of 4 minutes. And that day, you feel really good. And so you actually do 150 sit-ups inside 4 minutes because you're feeling good and you're pushing inside of that timeline. And so instead of stopping at 100, you just kept going. And so then you pushed yourself beyond what you would have done had I just given you the task and said, hey, you can be done at this mark. You went beyond that and you succeeded and you pushed your body harder. And so I like this for that reason too, because again, sometimes we can take advantage of the fact that instead of putting a limitation on ourselves and saying like, oh, and again, I really do apply this to cleaning. If you're like, I'm giving myself an hour to clean, I'm going to start with the kitchen. I'm going to move on from there. And if you are feeling good and you're feeling like you're organized and you're on top of it and you're not getting distracted, you might burn through the kitchen, burn through the living room, burn through the next place. And then you're like, wow, inside that hour, I got a ton done. As opposed to being like, I'm going to clean the kitchen as long as it takes. Sometimes it just slows you down. So I just want you to have this tool in your toolbox. Remember, it's time specific, not task specific, but inside the time, you need to be clear about what you're doing. Because if it's just like, hey, I'm going to do whatever for 10 minutes, like that's not a thing, right? So you have to be specific inside of it for sure. But what the priority is the time, not the task, right? And so I want you to apply this to the things that you're struggling to follow through on. And use start times as helpful if you're really struggling. Like today with Coffee Talk, I gave myself a 8:15 deadline. You must push record at 8:15. So I gave myself a little bit of time to kind of like dick around a little bit. And then I pushed record. For better or worse, this episode was coming out of my mouth. And I didn't even know what we were going to talk about, to be honest. And that was probably part of the problem. But I knew if I pushed record, I would get going and then we would have this good conversation, and hopefully somebody somewhere listening to this and this is actually going to help you. But only because I gave myself a timeline and I pushed the button and boom, made it happen. And so I want to challenge you to do the same thing today. Do not give yourself a pass and not do the things that you've already decided are important to you. That's not an option. But if you need to use a strategy like this to help you actually do the thing, whether it's just succeed inside of that time interval and get something done, or whether it's really push yourself and do more than you thought were capable, then that's great too. And so let me know if this episode was helpful. If it is, do me a huge favor, screen capture it, share it, and tag me on Instagram. That's really the way that people find out about it. I mean, this, hopefully these episodes help you in some way. But sometimes I feel like I'm just like talking to myself. I have no idea. So when you share it, it actually feels like a conversation because we can talk about the episode and then I know that it was helpful. If there's ever a topic that you want to hear about, just let me know and I'd be happy to talk about it for you. So thanks as always for plugging into Coffee Talk. If you haven't done so, subscribe to Fit Me Coffee Talk on your favorite podcast platform. If you're not a part of our Facebook group yet, go to Facebook, search Fit Me Community, request to join the group. It is the place where all the free games and activities happen for Fit Me. So we do a lot of really cool stuff. We're about to do some workshops next week. And then we've got stuff coming up in June. Yeah, June, because today is May 1st. And so you don't want to miss out on that Facebook group. So hope to see you over there. Take care. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.